if you think about shooting cap and ball revolvers or Flintlock muzzle loading pistols, you have to kind of change the modern concept of what this is all about. Okay? Keep in mind that they started with this. You had one shot. If you had a rifle and a pistol, you had two shots. So you were then going to a sword. And if you were surrounded by Indians, you were going to a cookout. And you were the main dish.
Or you could double wield.
But, you know, you couldn't...
Left and right.
Oh, yeah. You had as many as you had guns. And I was going to bring that up here in a minute. But so when this came along, it wasn't a question of how fast you could reload it. It was a question of you had 6 shots instead of 1 shot. Okay, or 5 shots if you kept one unloaded for safety, as John would say. But you had 6 shots. A cavalryman wasn't going to reload on a horse. And if you remember your Clint Eastwood pictures, now that Clint is retired at 89 or whatever. If you remember your Clint Eastwood pictures, he usually carried a Remington. And why did he carry a Remington? Well, in one of them, I think it was Joe Kidd or one of those. You'll remember him taking the cylinder out, and his cylinder will come out, I'm sure. Well, better get that out of the way. Get the ramming thing out of the way. Oh, jeez. I always going to embarrass myself. And he, much quicker than I did, was carrying spare cylinders, and he could just replace the cylinder with a loaded one. And of course his gun was set up to do that, and mine isn't. And he had 6 more shots. But still, in battle, which these were primary use, either against outlaws or Indians or Confederates or Yankees or whoever, you had 6 shots from your horse instead of having 1 shot from your horse. So it's not about the modern day idea of going out and shooting 250 rounds every time you go out with your semi-auto pistol. It's about reliving this type of time period where you were going from 1 shot to suddenly you had 6, and this was a good deal. I remember there was a story going around about the first guy who took a Patterson out west and was surrounded by Indians. And the Indians were very disappointed after he fired his first shot. It was a real sea change, and it's kind of a reliving history more than it is competing with what you're shooting at today. As 45 Alpha Charlie Papa here said earlier, it's being able to get away from it all, sit down, relax, take your time, and maybe get 10 shots down the range all day, or if you got the revolvers, 15 shots for the afternoon. It's just relaxing, it's fun, and it's reliving a bit of history. But you do have to kind of get in the mindset for it, and don't think that, God, it takes forever to reload this. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and then you got to make sure you clean them afterwards.
Well, you've got to make sure you clean them. But
so not only is your range session over when you're done shooting.
Yeah. You still have to go home and clean them, because they will rust overnight if you're using real black powder. Anyway, I just thought I'd remind you of what this is about, going from a guy on a horse with 1 or 2 pistols, or, as I said, Josie Wales. You know, pull them pistols or whistle Dixie. How many guns was he carrying? He was carrying cap and ball revolvers, but he kept pulling them out. He had 6 shots, and then he did what we around here call a New York reload. He grabbed another gun. So he must have been carrying 5, 6 guns. So, you know, it's different than it is today, is all I'm saying. It's not going out and figure you shoot a lot of rounds. It's going out and figure you're going to have a nice, relaxing day at the range, seeing what you can do.
And you're shooting the...
This is the 1858 Remington Army, new model Army. This one was originally made by Euro Arms. Somebody thought that they really didn't need to use black powder in it and blew the cylinder up. So I've got a Uberti cylinder that didn't fit, and I have fitted the cylinder to try and rehab the gun to where it's usable again.
So yeah,
and I haven't shot it.
Yeah, if you've got one of these, this might be an option if you don't have a cylinder for it. Yep, you pick one of these up cheap.
Looks like it works.
Yes, very nicely.
Let's take a look at what you both did. And then the
that one's not bad
salvage
either.
Remington. Well,
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
yeah. Okay, 44 caliber. This is 20 grains of 3F. Not a heavy load at all. Six for sure. This is an old High Hunter pirate pistol.
Oh, he's
Smooth
got the
bore.
pirate pistol out.
75 caliber Flintlock. I'm going to let you do the honors.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I want to do the honors. Aye, matey. Prepare to be boarded.
Oh,
Glitch.
both hands to cock. I told you there's a little problem with the, it was a cheap gun. I spent $35 on this gun. For the gun, and then $35 to ship it.
Let's try not to flinch this time. I did.
Woo!
Look at the size of the hole on the end of that thing.
Well, you know, the fun part of this is, it's a smooth bore. So you throw a 75 caliber ball down there, and crunch up some newspaper, and throw 3 32 or 36 caliber balls for your from your Colt Navies, and throw another wadded up newspaper, and you got a shotgun. Clear the decks.
Clear the decks.
Because it will. But it's just fun things to play with. Now, if you're a budding gunsmith, here's something you can do. I took a typical Traditions muzzleloader kit, Flintlock kit. I happen to have a left-handed flintlock around, so I filled this end with a piece of wood that I cut out and inlaid into it, and made a fancy lock plate for it that I put on all of my guns. Same style I put on all of my guns. I can always tell my guns it has that lock plate. And I put a left-handed flintlock on it. So I've converted this from a right-handed to a left-handed flintlock. All I did here was I put a screw in the old touch hole and put a new one in on the other side, and converted it from a right-handed flint pistol to a left-handed flint pistol. If you are in business and you have a lefty who's really big into left-handed guns, something you could make for him. Make yourself some money. Or have him laugh at you. Whichever. Anyway, this is the Singing Old Gunsmith saying happy trails.